Each day, travel with us around the world to learn what professors are researching within their specialties and be the first in the know. Listen as we discover the newest green innovations, research the behavioral patterns of animals, and examine how the arts are being studied today. You'll find it all on the Academic Minute.
Listen every weekday afternoon during the KSJE Evening News at 5:30. KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here to meet your urgent and emergent medical needs, whether they are COVID-19 related or not. Medical emergencies happen when you least expect them, whether it's a stroke, heart attack, illness, or injury. San Juan Regional Medical Center's caregivers are here to provide care to you and your loved ones. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. Ten minutes past 8 o'clock. It is Monday morning, August 23rd, 2021. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin. Thank you for tuning in to KSJE 90.9 FM, over the air, of course, here in San Juan County, New Mexico, 103.3 FM, broadcasting in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere else on the planet from our website at ksje.com, and that includes your smart speaker. You can try it out and see what I mean. Welcome also to our viewers who are watching this visual radio program. We are streaming the video live this morning to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and our Twitter account. We're glad that you are with us, everybody, because coming up this morning, it is a special morning. It is the first day of the fall semester here at San Juan College, and so as is tradition, we'll be talking with San Juan College President Dr. Toni Pendergrass here in just a moment about the first day of the fall semester, and she'll be sharing some of the other accomplishments here from San Juan College recently that she shared at the all faculty and all staff convocation. So that is coming up in the next few moments right here on KSJE, so please stay tuned for that. And then, of course, later on at 8:50 a.m., I'll be speaking with Lewis Campbell from Synergy Computer Systems here in Farmington. It's our technology segment called Monday Reboot. That's coming up today at 8:50 a.m. right here on KSJE. Next hour, our classical music program, Roving with the Arts. Mick Hess is going to take us roving today. He's playing music from Jean Sibelius. It's coming up today at 9:06 on KSJE, our classical music program. And don't forget, in addition to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can also check out KSJE on our Instagram page as well. A sunny morning outside, 64 degrees in Farmington at the moment. We are expecting some increasing clouds, though, throughout the day, and maybe a scattered shower or thunderstorm popping up this afternoon. Still warm with a high of 90 today in Farmington. 58 overnight, mostly sunny, drier tomorrow with a high of 91 on Tuesday, back up to 94 on Wednesday, 89 for a high on Thursday, 90 on Friday, a high of 89 on Saturday, again with chances of scattered showers or thunderstorms, and overnight lows, as you can see, from the mid-50s up into the mid-60s. It's Monday morning on KSJE, and as is tradition, on the first day of the semester here at San Juan College, we always welcome back to KSJE the president of San Juan College, Dr. Toni Pendergrass, to spend some time with us. Dr. Pendergrass, once again, good morning. Good to have you with us.
Good morning, Scott.
Thank you for being here. And first day of the semester, certainly a little different looking semester than last fall, but still a little bit different. But the college is planning on face-to-face classes this fall.
Yes, we know that that's what our students need and desire, so we've tried to offer as many face-to-face classes as possible. We actually rolled what we call rolling the fall 19 schedule. So before COVID, our normal schedule is what we're trying to operate off of this semester.
Very good. And of course, certainly still some safety precautions being made on campus for all students and teachers and faculty and staff and visitors and things along that line to make sure everyone stays safe.
Yes, we've asked individuals to wear masks per the governor's public health order, and then any other safety accommodations that are needed. We have reduced class sizes, and we're just using safety measures that are recommended by the CDC.
Very good. And from the numbers that I have noticed, Dr. Pendergrass, enrollment is certainly up from compared to last year and coming close to maybe 2019 levels. I'm sure you're watching that closely.
Yes, we are. It is. We're not sure, though, if we'll meet our goal by census date, but we're pleased with the growth that we have had to date. Our date numbers are looking good, but we're not sure we'll hit our target by census, which is the 12th class day.
Gotcha. But I know there's still folks over in the Educational Services building that will sign students up for classes if they're watching us this morning and thinking about it, right?
Absolutely.
There you go. But I think that also backs up your statement that students wanted those face-to-face classes, and we're seeing those increases from over last year, significant double-digit increases.
Yes.
Very good. Well, I wanted to ask you a bit about your presentation to the All-Employee Convocation, which was held last week at the Farmington Civic Center and on Zoom for folks who were joining from home and remote locations. And so if you wouldn't mind maybe taking us through some of the things that you shared with the audience at that event. And I want to kind of start with, of course, the college's 4 strategic directions, because a lot of what you shared was related to these 4 main areas.
Yes, and I was able to obtain a count for how many people attended in person and then how many people joined us both in person and virtually. So there were 169 people that were there in person, of course, socially distanced in the Civic Center.
Right.
But altogether, we had 489 employees that joined us last week. But relating to the 4 strategic directions at the college, these were established by our Board of Trustees. And the first strategic direction is to create an agile and responsive business model to help more students get in, through, and out of college. The second strategic direction is to really help us expand our national signature programs that attract audiences from throughout the U.S., to bring economic development dollars into our region and into the state. And then the third strategic direction is to really focus upon the strengths of our School of Energy and take that curriculum internationally. And then the last strategic direction is to really help grow and sustain our health science programs. In our last strategic plan, we obtained input from thousands of people that the board utilized to create these 4 strategic directions.
Very good. And these are things that kind of then, pardon me, but try to maybe help guide some of the decisions made here at the college. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yes, that's correct, Scott.
Very, very good. Well, let's talk about some of these. And I know, again, there's a lot to share from all these areas, and those are some of the things that you did share with everyone. And one would be in strategic direction number 1. Of course, the big thing there would be, well, first thing on the list is student housing. Give us an update there.
Sure, and I think you can move on to the next slide, and it provides a little bit more information for our listeners. So we're really excited about our student housing project. This is in partnership with Janes Corporation and Decker Parrott Sabatini Architects. And as you can see in the photo, it is progressing quite quickly. They plan to be done by next spring, and we plan to move in 150 students by next fall. And that we will have single and double occupancy units, so they can house 1 person in a unit, 2 people, or 4 people in a unit, and we're just really excited about it. It'll be about 37,522 square feet.
It certainly is a big building going up. We've been watching its progress. It's exciting to see, Dr. Pendergrass, and I know this is something the college has been looking at and studying and discussing for a number of years, and to see it happening is very exciting.
Yes, for at least 20 years. We even know that during Dr. Henderson's presidency, this was something he wanted to do.
Right, and certainly a need in the community as well, because I know the college did several studies about asking students or potential students, and housing, I think, was obviously one of the major things that that they said that they would like.
Yes, that's correct. We surveyed students, and on one survey that we had a third party conduct, they specialize in campus housing. 89% of the students indicated that they would live in housing if it were available, and they had never received a response rate that high.
Wow, very good. Well, we're excited for next fall when the doors open on the new housing, and that'll make a lot of things a bit different here on campus, I think, by having that student population here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I know there are a lot of other departments and people working on what those things will mean.
Yes, and we've hired individuals that have extensive housing experience. Both our Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Boomer Appelman, and our Dean for Students, Debbie Chalmers, have extensive experience in overseeing and managing housing.
Very good. Well, the other thing I wanted to ask you about, too, that you mentioned is some new apprenticeships and working with local businesses and things along that line. Tell us a bit more about that initiative.
Yes, I'm a member of the American Association of Community Colleges board, and at our last retreat a couple of weeks ago, they highlighted two programs, and one is a Department of Labor grant that they have. It's a large grant to really expand the amount of apprenticeships in the nation, and San Juan College is one of 106 colleges that was awarded the grant. And to date, we've trained 140 apprentices, and this is a project that is overseen by Jill Bishop and Amanda Pickering in our Student Careers and Employment Office. Another experimental initiative that we're part of that we're really excited about is the ability for work-study students to work off campus. So they can work for an industry partner, a nonprofit, a governmental agency, and their salary is subsidized by the federal government through the Work Study Federal Financial Aid Program. So this provides a wonderful incentive for our community members that have businesses or work in governmental agencies to have interns, and a large portion of their salary is subsidized. So if anyone is interested in that opportunity, they need to please contact Jill Bishop or Amanda Pickering in our Student Careers and Employment office. But, you know, at San Juan College, we just want to make sure that when students come here, that they obtain a good credential, either a certificate or degree, and they're able to obtain a nice, well-paying job in our community. That's the goal.
Sure, sure. Well, and I can say that a lot of those apprenticeships, internships, work-study programs do offer those students some really hands-on experience to kind of let them know if they're looking into a career field, what maybe to expect once they do graduate with that certificate or degree.
Exactly.
Very good. Also, I know you're working on some transfer initiatives as well with other higher education institutions.
Yes, this was another program that was highlighted at that board retreat, and it's our Equity Transfer Initiative grant. And this is, the contact person for this is Dr. Michael Ottinger. He's our Dean for Science, Math, and Engineering. And we're the only college that's part of this grant that has an out-of-state partner, Fort Lewis. But that was our natural partner because we work with them closely and they're close to us in proximity. And we have a coach that's assisting us with this project. But the whole goal is to get more students to transfer, especially some of our underrepresented students. And the goal is the first year you have 100 more students transfer, then the second year 300 more students that transfer in these pathways. And there's 17 colleges that were awarded this grant in partnership with 19 total universities.
Wow. And I think you're right that Fort Lewis is a great partner. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of partnerships between the two institutions. And I think a lot of folks would be surprised to learn just how closely San Juan College and Fort Lewis College work together to ensure that students who want to transfer and continue their education, get a four-year degree from Fort Lewis, can really do so relatively seamlessly. At least that's my understanding.
Yes, we have a great relationship with Dr. Stridicus and his entire team, and we have a number of partnerships that we'll probably talk about this morning.
I bet we will, for sure. That's very true. The other thing too are, I think some scholarship opportunities from Chevron being one of them, right?
Yes, thanks to the leadership of Gail Dean, our executive director of the foundation, and the work of our senior research equity analyst, Carrie Sosi Jim, they were able to help us secure $50,000 from Chevron. $20,000 is for direct student scholarships, and then the other $30,000 they wanted to designate to support our equity, diversity, and inclusion initiative, and also to sponsor a bridge program for our students in the STEM areas. And so we're really excited about their and thankful for their generosity. And the EDI team held several listening sessions with our employees and students throughout the spring semester. So they'll be bringing us some recommendations that we can implement in our strategic plan.
I got you.
The thing is we want to make sure overall that all of our students are graduating and that we don't have gaps between certain populations, men and women, or between different ethnicities. We want all students to be successful.
Very true. And that brings me to my next topic to ask you about, Dr. Pendergrass, which is around enrollment services, kind of trying to streamline that process or make sure that students can find what they're looking for, whether it's on the college website or when they call somebody over at enrollment services or things along that line, just to make sure they don't get frustrated or can't find the answer that they're looking for. And at a place as big as San Juan College, offering so many degrees, so many pathways, so many areas, that could be a little overwhelming maybe for a student.
And that's been an effort the past several years, as you know, Scott, to really implement pathways. It's a program to help more students, as I said, get in, through, and out of college. And we've learned some things during the COVID pandemic, especially when we had to change to a lot of our programs and services remotely, especially at the beginning of the pandemic. And we learned that some of our processes weren't as smooth as we thought they were in that remote fashion. So we really tried to navigate our website and make sure that it's easy for students to enroll and register and to find information, about transfer and so forth. So these are some of the things that our students or our employees have done, is really try and make it easier to navigate. And our advising and recruiting department have really adopted a case management model, and then leveraging our new customer service relationship management system that will help us keep in touch with students, know where they are in the process, and make sure they're aware of what needs to be done, and if they need help, we're there to help them.
Right. And that term that I use, pathways, I learned that from you, Dr. Pendergrass. I'll just tell you that. Because you have been talking about that for a while now, and I think, again, we can see that being implemented here at the college. And as I mentioned, for students who maybe are not sure, or maybe they're a little hesitant about coming to college, I think anything we can do to make it easier is a good thing. And I think in the enrollment numbers, you're probably seeing some results of some of these things, aren't we?
I think so.
Right. Very good. Let's talk a little bit about other things like the 15 to Finish program. That's another message for students to say, this is what you need, and if you stick with it and get your 15 credits, you can graduate on time every semester.
Yes. This relates to pathways again, but traditionally we've just told students if you take full-time is 12 credits. But you won't finish on time. So we've really tried to talk to students, and we created a video that shows them that they really need to take 15 credits at all possible, because we've shown them how much money it costs for each additional year that they do not complete on time. So we've tried to share that video and information with our students so that more of them would, maybe even if they can't even go full-time, they might just take one more class. And then with respect to another program we implemented was Back to Your Future. And we know that some students, may have entered San Juan College at one point over the years and they weren't successful, or life happened and for some reason they weren't able to finish. So they might owe us a balance. And what we did is we indicated 2 students that were willing to enroll them back here at San Juan College, and we'll defer that balance until, after they graduate, and give them an opportunity to go back to school.
Right. And that, again, I think we're seeing some results of that too, aren't we, with some of these students that are coming back to enroll?
Yes.
Very good.
Because they know if they come back to school, they have a much higher likelihood of getting a better job.
True. Very true. Let me ask you a bit about finances. That was another part of your presentation. And of course, with the pandemic, a lot of things were kind of thrown up in the air a little bit. A lot of organizations like San Juan College figuring out how to move forward with online classes and remote learning and some of these things, and budgets were impacted. Talk to me a little bit about that. The college certainly saw some losses in revenue from some traditional areas, but increases in aid from some of the state and federal COVID relief that was passed as well. So how did that all even out, if it did?
Last summer, as a result of the special session of the legislature, and they were just trying to balance their budget, so there's no blame here, but we had to cut $2.9 million out of our budget. And then with the loss of enrollment in the middle of a pandemic, we had to cut an additional $1.2 million. So that's $4.1 million that we had to cut pretty early on in our fiscal year last fall. But in the spring, thanks to CARES and what we call CARISA funding and the American Rescue Plan, we were able to obtain funding to help our students, where we are obligated to provide it as direct payments to our students to help them throughout the pandemic, or provide that to the institution to make up for some of that lost revenue we had. So we received $7.1 million in institutional, what we call CARES, CARISA, and minority serving institution funding. Then we received $2.7 million to give directly to students through those CARES and CARISA funding. Then we received, most recently, $6 million for institutional and minority serving institution American Rescue Plan funding, and $6 million to give directly to students through the American Rescue Plan.
Very good. And so I'm not a math guy, but it looks like we're on the plus side of some of those numbers. And so the aid to the students directly, Dr. Pendergrass, that was in the form of things maybe like scholarships or technology, or help us understand what that was used for.
That was just a direct payment to them.
I see.
We utilized a recommended formula that, through the financial aid office, that calculated and then printed checks and sent them to students.
I see.
The institutional side is where we tried to buy laptops and hotspots and PPE and different equipment and so forth during the pandemic, or software to help us, take everything virtual, which is like our Zoom. Those types of costs is what we've used for the institutional as pandemic-related costs.
Thank you. That helps me understand it better. And I know there was a major investment in technology for students who maybe couldn't attend classes remotely easily without that assistance. You mentioned hotspots and things like that, because we know there are parts of our community that don't have reliable internet service, so that was one area that was helpful. The laptops, as you mentioned, and certainly an organization as large and complex as San Juan College having, I know there's a number somewhere, and I forget the number, Dr. Pendergrass, of how many Zoom meetings or sessions were held from meetings and classes and committee meetings and just multiple licenses for those Zooms every time we create an online meeting. That's what happens, right?
Yes, exactly.
So a big expense, certainly, when we're moving everything to an online situation. Let me ask you a bit, too, Dr. Pendergrass, about some other accomplishments from some of the other things of what this graphic shows of some of the, again, the classes as they move to online or face-to-face and things along this line.
Yeah, so this chart that you have for our audience is I just asked Institutional Research, Ron Jernigan, if he could create a report to see if our students were successful in these different modalities. You know, there's our face-to-face, there's our hybrid, which is half face-to-face, half online, and then we have purely online, where you complete the course, you know, in your own time frame by certain deadlines. Or if it's online live, where you show up at a certain time, you know, over Zoom and listen to the professor. So what this chart really shows with our different student populations is overall, the tried and true face-to-face, our students are the most successful. You know, they can get their questions answered immediately from their professors, and that's where they're the most successful. Second is hybrid. Third is online, and then fourth is the online live, is what our data showed from our spring semester. But one thing that's really important to note is that there's a significant gap between Native American and Hispanic students in their success rates when they take an online or an online live course, and we need to be sensitive to that. So that's why we felt it was so important when this information was shared with us. We knew that we had to get as many face-to-face courses as possible in our schedule.
Which is where we are this fall.
Yes.
Yes, very good. Got you. I want to skip ahead just a little bit, Dr. Pendergrass, and talk about a couple other things with you this morning. One is also, again, going back to the pathways that we mentioned earlier and some of the results on some student success, I believe, too, right, with some of these pathways of how students are doing?
Yes, and this is my favorite chart in my entire presentation. And this is some data on momentum points, and research has shown that in colleges, if you can make sure that students complete college-level English and math in their first year, they are much more likely to graduate. And then we talk about those momentum points that we were discussing a while ago. You know, once they complete 6 credits, 12 credits, 15, 24, and 30, you know, that just creates momentum for them to finish. So, you know, our English and math professors have been working really hard to make sure that we have lots of wraparound supports for our students. And then our advisors and counselors have worked really hard, as I mentioned, to have a case management system and really make sure that students have a clear academic plan and complete college level English and math in the first year. And we established targets, and in every instance on this chart, we achieved our, we increased by over the previous year. So right. we improved in every instance except one, and we actually exceeded our long-term target in 4 of the areas. So I'm not going to read the chart to everyone, but just to give you an example, like first year college English, the previous year was 40% completed. Then this last year, it was 54%, and our target was 50%. So we're really excited about that. Earned 6 credits the first term. Our goal was, or the previous year would have been 55%. This last year was 80%, and our goal was 75%. So that just gives you a couple of examples where we're really pleased that things are going in the right direction.
Indeed, and for anyone that wonders how students are doing, or that whole student success message that they hear from San Juan College, this really does show it quite clearly, I think, of how students are able to succeed with all the assistance and student support services and organizations and things that the college provides, because that's the goal, is to get them taking their classes and passing their classes and getting those certificates or degrees and getting out into the job force.
Yes. And the only area that we decreased in was the credit pass rate. It dropped from 77 to 74. So
I see that at the bottom.
It wasn't a significant drop, but we were in the pandemic, so
right.
We'll work on that.
Understood. And you're still within about 10 points of your goal.
Right.
On that one. So there you go. My guest this morning, San Juan College President, Dr. Toni Pendergrass, is joining me this morning. It is the first day of the fall semester here at San Juan College. And again, for the first time in over a year, there are many, if not most, face-to-face classes here on the campus of San Juan College. Just a couple other things I wanted to mention and talk to you about, Dr. Pendergrass. We are running out of time, so I'm just spending too much time visiting with you about each of these slides that you shared, but I think they have so much information that I really do like to share them with our audiences. One of the other things was on strategic direction number 2, and I wanted to just touch on that for just a moment, about some new programs for students to maybe get involved with that would help with their job search in the future.
Yes, so we do have some new programs that have been developed. A advanced certificate in electrical vehicle technology, and students, after they earn their credential in automotive technician, they can earn this credential, and we are just one of a handful of programs throughout the U.S., and we plan to start that very soon. Also, what we call our drone program is going very well, and the students have already earned many of the students their first FAA license. And then in partnership with the University of New Mexico, we have a pre-pharmacy program where they can transfer into the doctoral program at UNM in pharmacy. And then we've developed some short-term certificates that make them our students highly employable, and it's a partnership with Amazon and Amazon Web Services. And then we've taken some of our fire science courses online.
Very good. And I just want to point out that Amazon Web Services, folks may not be familiar with what all that means, but we know Amazon maybe from their shopping and some of the other things that they offer, but the web services side of that company is really another area that a lot of servers and a lot of maybe websites that we use every day relies on the servers that are hosted by Amazon Web Services and things along that line that make the rest of the things that we use every day on the internet and elsewhere work. And that's what we're talking about with that, correct?
Yes, that's such a great statement, Scott, because, like, for example, our learning management system that holds all of our courses is operated through Amazon. So we depend on it heavily.
Right. Very true. Very true. And then let me ask you about this other slide as well, which is working with Biotech, and we talked to them not too long ago on this program, and also Dean Corbell from the School of Energy, and some of these other programs that are coming online.
Yes. So we've been able to accomplish quite a bit in the School of Energy. We're thrilled that we were able to sign MOUs with Biotech, a hydrogen company, and then with Enchant Energy on carbon capture technology, but we want to be their trainer of choice for their workforce needs. And, one of the other areas that are that's important through our Center of Excellence is water security and sustainability. And we had a very successful seminar this summer where we had visitors from 3 states that joined us.
Very good. And that will almost wrap up our conversation this morning, Dr. Pendergrass. But I do want to mention, since we're talking Biotech, that just last week you were able to visit with Energy Secretary Granholm when she was in San Juan County touring some areas along with Biotech and PESCO, names that we've come to familiarize ourselves when we're talking about economic development and things along that line. But it was, I think, impressive to have the Secretary here, along with Senator Heinrich and many others, but talking a little bit about the future, I think, of industry in San Juan County and maybe that transition as we kind of move from our more traditional oil and gas economy to whatever is next. Maybe you could just share a little bit of those meetings late last week that you had here in the county.
And I was just one of many that was able to meet with Secretary Granholm, and she was with Congresswoman Teresa Ledger Fernandez, as you mentioned, Senator Heinrich, and President Nez was also in attendance at the meeting. And, you know, all of our county entities, the city, the county, Libertad, just several entities, Arvin Trujillo from Four Corners Economic Development, Kyle Rose from PESCO. Several of us just shared with her how we are ideally suited to be one of the identified hydrogen hubs here in the United States. And we hope that they will certainly consider us as a demonstration project. There was also an individual from New Mexico Tech at the meeting. So there were several of us that came together and tried to convince her that we should be considered for this opportunity to help our community.
Gotcha.
Because, you know, most of the training, you know, with respect to workforce training, we have the workforce, because what's needed in the hydrogen economy is very similar to what we've already done in the oil and gas environment.
And it sounds to me, Dr. Pendergrass at San Juan College is primed and ready to go to provide, if we're not already, some of those classes and training for this new type of industry, which is what the MOU with Biotech is about.
Yes. And, you know, I'm just trying to remember everyone that was there. Jason Sandell was there
Right.
from Aspen Well Servicing, and he's led a lot of this work as well.
Very true, and thank you for adding those names as well that I didn't add. That's important, but it is really, and I think another feather in the cap that it seems like a community effort, and we have representatives from all levels of government, all levels of the industry, all levels of the educational areas to support this initiative for San Juan County with these federal officials.
Yes, definitely. We are so fortunate that we work so well together and come together with these strategic priorities for our community.
I would agree, and we see that time and time again. Well, Dr. Pendergrass, it's always a pleasure to visit with you, even remotely, but I appreciate your time this morning. We hope everyone has a great fall semester, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Scott.
You bet. Great to visit with you. That is San Juan College President Dr. Toni Hopper Pendergrass, my guest this morning here on the first day of the fall semester here at San Juan College. KSJE is proud to support the Farmington Jazz Festival, Saturday, August 28th at the Farmington Civic Center. This year, the Jazz Festival features the San Juan Jazz Society Combo, Broke with Expensive Taste, Brad Good and Rico Jones, and Indigenous jazz vocalist Julia Keefe. The event is free and will be hosted outdoors in front of the Farmington Civic Center, 200 West Arrington, from